There are currently over 800 species of Pokemon. Some Pokemon do not evolve, but the majority of Pokemon do. Today we're going to be looking at evolution, more importantly, the evolution Pokemon Eevee. This video will be a top 9 of the current Eeveelutions. I am counting Eevee if you are counting the numbers of current Eeveelutions, but I am counting Eevee in this list because many people only focus on its evolutions and not on Eevee itself as a Pokemon, which I think actually has some value to it. Eevee has 3 evolutions in Generation 1, it gets 2 more in Generations 2 and 4 respectively, and 1 more added in Generation 6. Please remember that this video will be solely based off of my opinion, so sorry if your favorite Eeveelution isn't also my favorite. With all that being said, sit back and relax as we discuss my top 9 favorite current Eeveelutions. Number 9, Sylveon. For those of you who don't know, I really don't care about the fairy type. There are a few good fairies out there, but most of the ones I like are because they had another typing in an earlier generation, like Gardevoir. When X and Y was released and I received my Eevee egg, I had many ideas about what to evolve it into. But after I discovered Sylveon, I knew my choice was made. Sylveon was my very first fairy type I ever owned, and it was a decent Pokemon. My team never really paired well with Sylveon, mostly because I was new to using the fairy types and I didn't really know its strengths and weaknesses too well. I ended up benching Sylveon for Gardevoir, which is also one of my favorite Pokemon, but I also found it more useful because it was also a psychic type. I don't dislike Sylveon per se, but out of the current Eeveelutions, I can say I've used this one the least just because I've never used it after my initial playthrough of Pokemon Y. Number 8, Glaceon. Out of the Eeveelutions, Glaceon is the coolest. But puns aside, just because it's an ice type doesn't give it me any hold to use it. Glaceon ranks this low because in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, you have to travel to Snow Point City, which is the 7th gym city, to evolve Eevee into Glaceon. Now by this time in the game, your team should already be well established, so I never really have used Glaceon too much. But I did have one on my team a few times. But really it was only for Cynthia's Garchomp, which it does really well against. Glaceon has a special attack of 130 base power, making it a superb ice type. But the availability of this Pokemon puts it so low on this list. Number 7, Eevee. Yeah, you weren't getting too high on this list. Eevee is absolutely adorable, which made me really want one when I watched the Eeveelution Brothers episode of the anime. Even though it is cute, it is sort of weak until it evolves. That being said, Eevee has been used on competitive teams as a support Pokemon primarily in the doubles VGC format. It's very uncommon to actually use this Pokemon in competitive battling, but I could see the value of Eevee maybe as a real-life house pet. Number 6, Leafeon. When Generation 4 came out, this was my favorite Eeveelution. At the time, Grass was also my favorite typing. My Eevee in my Pearl game was a Leafeon. But since Generation 4, I've begun to like this Eeveelution less and less. I find it hard to use in battle due to its low stats on the special side. I would argue that Leafeon could run better as a special attacker due to a very shallow physical move pool and really only having one good physical stab attack in Leaf Blade. This Pokemon could be so much better utilizing Giga Drains, Magical Leafs, Energy Balls, and even Solar Beam in the sun. The design is amazing, but this Eeveelution falls flat due to its stat distribution. Number 5, Flareon. Another one of my favorite Eeveelutions at one point in time. Flareon reaches the midway point on this list. Not much can be said about this Pokemon in its beginnings in Generation 1. Its best stat is Attack, which it didn't receive a strong stab move until way too late. Stat distribution ails Flareon, just like it did with Leafeon. Until Generation 4, Flareon was stuck using non-stab moves, making it the laughingstock of the Eeveelution family. Once it did get access to Physical Stab, it still wasn't good. Its stats making an attacker with no way to take out super effective moves with its low 60 base special defense and 65 HP. Flareon is insanely slow, making it easy to pick off. Now, Flareon just needs a higher HP stat or a speed stat to make it viable in upper tiers as a fire type, which are already uncommon. Number 4, Espeon. Man, was this thing good. Espeon outclassed Umbreon early on for me as a Generation 2 Eeveelution. It can hit like a truck with its 130 base special attack, and even though it is frail, it can destroy opponents by outspeeding them. Espeon and Umbreon are really a dynamic duo. Espeon design leaves something to be desired, but I think it still looks a little bit better than Sylveon. This Pokemon rates so high on this list, mostly to it having and using the Psychic type, which is one of my favorite types. I don't get the whole gem in its head for the reason why its tail splits in two, but Espeon will always be a nice, speedy special attacker that I'd use on most teams. Number 3, Umbreon. Espeon's counterpart in Generation 2. By far, Umbreon is the best looking Eeveelution. It has sleek, black fur with highlights of yellow and piercing red eyes. It just looks so awesome. Why is this number 3 on the list then? Well, you should have guessed it by now. Stats. As a kid, I played an all-out attacking style, and sadly, Umbreon never fit that bill. Its attack stats are garbage, but this thing is a tank. Umbreon has slowly been rising on this list since I figured out how to use it correctly. Not only can this thing take many hits, but also has great access to wear the opponents down. Umbreon certainly has the capability to sweep a team, and it probably is the most competitively viable Eeveelution. I would expect Umbreon to be fast by just looking at it, but after discovering its stats, I have reason to really appreciate Umbreon as a wall on my teams. Not only is Umbreon the best Eeveelution, it also has the best shiny. Game Freak really knew what they were doing when they decided this beast. Umbreon ranks just higher than Espeon due to its recent usage on some of my teams, which have made my playthroughs so much easier by having such a great tank. Number 2, Jolteon. Jolteon replaced Leafeon very quickly as my favorite Eeveelution right after the Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum series were released. I loved it instantly being fast with 130 base speed stat, and also this thing being able to use stab moves superbly with a 110 base special attack stat. This was amazing and fast, and I love it. Electric was my favorite type at one point as well, meaning Jolteon was pretty much only playing second fiddle to Charizard, my favorite Pokemon of all time. I always evolved my Eevee into a Jolteon from Generation 4 onwards, occasionally stopping to breed it for more Eevee eggs to collect the rest of the Eeveelutions. Well, I mean, except for the one time I used Sylveon when it first came out. But we don't talk about that. If you watch my first playthrough on this channel, the Shock Lock, there was no doubt about me choosing Jolteon as my starter. It was a sad day when I lost Jolteon and the Nuzlocke to my rival in self-company. Jolteon has been a staple of my team for some time, but there's one Eeveelution that barely outranks it. And that is number 1, Vaporeon. I think Vaporeon is absolutely adorable, and it also is very cool design-wise. As a water type, there are always reasons not to use Vaporeon, but eventually the time came for Vaporeon to join my team, and I was not disappointed. Yes, it is slow, which can be an issue, but at least it has nice bulk. Vaporeon's move pool is also the best of the Eeveelutions in my opinion. There's so many ways to run this thing depending on what you need for the team. It can sweep, it can wall, it can do whatever you need to. Vaporeon really only beats Jolteon for the number 1 spot due to a battling experience I had with it. I had a Vaporeon on one of my Pokemon Y teams, and there is a video of that on the channel, and I did a Wi-Fi battle with that team that Vaporeon really shined in. My entire team was defeated except for my Vaporeon. I set up an Aqua Wing, and from there, I went from a 1-6 deficit to a 1-0 victory over my foe, with just Vaporeon. From then on, no Pokemon has won a match like that for me, and Vaporeon holds a special place in my heart, just because of that battle. Rhaenyra really was the best Eeveelution, brother, because he had the best Eeveelution. Well, that concludes my top 9 favorite current Eeveelutions. Feel free to leave your comments on your favorite and why they are your favorite in the comments section down below. Thanks to my sponsor, First Inch Gaming. Go check out their website in the description of this video for awesome gaming gear of all kinds. And use code CHAOSMAY at checkout to get 5% off your purchases. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like to show your support and subscribe for future uploads to this channel. That's all I have to say, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm CHAOSMAY006, signing off. Burn it up.